Hello everyone, now I will show you how to set up your Linksys router. And before I start, I would like to remind you that if my video helps you, please support my work. I send half of all donations to animal shelters. All the details are in the description below. The first step is to turn on the router. Take the power adapter. Plug one end of the power adapter into a wall outlet. Connect the other end to the router. When it's powered on, a light will illuminate. It might take a few minutes for the router to fully power up. Next, plug the cable from your broadband provider or modem into the Internet port. This port is often called WAN and is usually a different color. Each cable should be inserted until it clicks. Now you should reset the router to its factory settings. Hold down the reset button on the router for 10 seconds. Wait for the lights on the router to begin flashing. Occasionally, this button can be found inside the router casing to avoid accidental presses. Use a slim object to press it down. The router will reboot, resetting all the settings to their original factory defaults. Connect one end of the Ethernet cable that came with the router to an Ethernet port. Connect the other end to your computer or laptop's Ethernet port. Please wait a few minutes for connection. Awesome! Your router is now connected to your computer. Now you will need to set it up. Before we get started, I'll show you another way to connect the router in case you don't have an Ethernet cable or your computer doesn't have an Ethernet port. Simply plug in the router to the power adapter and connect the cable from your internet provider. This will turn on the Wi-Fi. If the router is new and hasn't been set up yet, the Wi-Fi network will be named after the router itself. Your router has a unique Wi-Fi network name and password printed on a label. Connect to it. Great job connecting to the router. Now let's move on to the setup process. First, open your web browser and visit the URL you see on the screen. Use the URL bar instead of the search bar. At the beginning, you will see a form with a login and password. Usually, it is admin and admin. If these credentials are wrong, then find label on your router. The credentials are often printed on the bottom of the device. If none of this works, it means that your router has already been configured and someone has changed the login and password. If you can't find out the login credentials, just reset the router to factory settings. And then log into the router's personal cabinet using the standard credentials. If your router settings do not look like mine, it means that your router has a different firmware. I made a video for every firmware type. You can find all the links in the description down below. I want to warn you right away that there are many firmware versions and they may differ slightly. But don't worry, you will succeed. Just watch the video and follow the instructions. So first of all, you need to create a username and password for your personal account. Some firmware versions don't have this form, but if it appears, fill in all the details and remember them. Or better yet, write them down somewhere. You'll need them the next time you log into your personal account. First, run the quick setup to manually configure your internet connection and wireless settings. Keep in mind that, depending on your firmware version, some setup steps may be different or appear in a different order. But don't worry, you've got this. Just watch the video and follow the instructions. On the first screen, select your time zone. If you don't remember which one you're in, just pick any and click Next. On the next page, select the type of internet connection. Usually, this is mentioned in the contract with your internet provider. If you don't know it, you can try clicking the Auto Detect button. The router will attempt to identify your connection type. If it fails, select Dynamic IP and click the Next button. Depending on the type of connection you selected in the previous step, this page may look different from mine. If you chose Dynamic IP, then select one of the available options on this page. If your internet provider only allows internet access to a specific MAC address, you'll need to clone the MAC address of your main computer. If you're not sure, select Do Not Clone MAC Address. In most cases, cloning the MAC address is not necessary. But if you can't get an internet connection after the quick setup, run it again and try cloning the MAC address. On the next page, set the name and password for your future Wi-Fi network. You can enable the available network bands of your router. There may be one or more bands available. If there are several, enable them all and set a name and password for each one. The password must be at least 8 characters long. Once you've entered the credentials, click the Next button. On the next page, you'll see all the information you provided earlier. Click the Save button and wait while the settings are applied. If you were connected via Wi-Fi, reconnect to the updated network. On this page, you can configure the TP-Link cloud service. You don't need to change anything. Just click the Login Later button. Great. You've completed the quick setup process. Click Finish, and after a couple of minutes, check your internet connection. Just Google something. If there's no internet, try rebooting your router. Click the reboot icon in the upper right corner. After rebooting, wait a couple more minutes. Sometimes the settings take a little while to apply, and the internet will appear. If the internet still doesn't work, double-check that all the cables are connected properly. If, after all these steps, you still have no internet, go to the Basic tab. Then select Internet. Then clone the MAC address. Save the settings. Reboot your router. After a couple of minutes, check the internet connection. If internet still doesn't appear, contact your internet service provider. He will tell you what type of connection you have and what other settings you need to do. That's all. If you found my video helpful, please support my work. Half of all donations I send to animal shelters. All details are in the description down below.